Sue, body up the middle, making another move to the outside. 15, 10, end zone again.
Keeps it. Nice move by Brown. He's got space. He's got 6. 35-yard touchdown for Byron Brown. A record-setting night for the South Florida quarterback.
Down so far, a little bit of a high snap. Genty right up the middle. Genty has room. Ashton Genty, give him 6.
Second and long. Lagar tries to fit it in a row. It does. Rowe stays up. The show's off his 4-3 wheels. Incredible effort for Rowe.
The G5 Hive. All G5, all the time.
Welcome to the G5 Hive Live, where we're excited to bring you G5 college football coverage you love each and every week. I am Luke, and I'm joined by my co-host, Justice. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. And if you're watching us on X, please give us a follow, a like, retweet. If you're listening to us in podcast form, please rate and review. The G5 Hive merchandise store, now live. Link in our YouTube video comments, as well as pinned on our X page. And at the bottom of the screen here is pretty cool. We got a little shout out on Christmas morning. One of our fans got a shirt. I'm not sure who who gave him the gift, but it was pretty cool to see that was a Christmas gift for somebody. Justice, how's it going?
Good, man. That was pretty cool. Now I'm trying. Was it Daniel?
I'll look it up.
But yeah, he posted on Christmas morning. It was like possibly the greatest gift ever. That was pretty cool. So yeah, if you want to get a nice shirt like Daniel got for Christmas, you can buy your own. Link here on the bottom of the screen, as well as in the YouTube comments and on our Twitter page. So yeah, it's you getting any of the snow, Luke? I got.
We had some snow the other day. Trying to think what day it snowed, like Thursday or Friday last week. It's still covering the ground here.
We like for us, like we have not gotten enough to cover the ground. But school was delayed 2 hours today. It's delayed 2 hours tomorrow.
You guys, I don't know how to drive in snow.
Well, no, the problem is like they don't have enough equipment. They don't have they don't have enough equipment to plow the roads. They don't have enough equipment to salt or do any of that stuff. So they only do like the very main roads, and that's it. And so yeah, like the threat of ice, and like for the most part, ours has really been more ice, I would say, than it has been snow. But like, we get another chance of it. I think this weekend. I think on Saturday. But yeah, like we get like a couple inches of snow, it shuts down things for like days. Like I've seen it where it shuts down things for a week, man. It just depends on like how bad the ice is.
I'll tell you. Let's see here. Currently, it is 8 degrees. Here in.
It's a little warmer here. It's 31.
Okay. So we have a fireplace at our house, so we threw some logs on and had a fire over the weekend. Kids went back to school today, so it was the first day back in the swing of things. Friday, got another chance of snow here in Iowa, but it'll be a whopping 31, so it'll be the warmest it's been since around Christmas.
Oh, wow.
So,
yeah, like I think our low tonight's 23.
So
like we're getting like during the day we're getting up like in the upper 30s.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's nice and cold here, and it is brisk. It definitely like facial hair, big thing in the Midwest. Definitely need facial hair help with those cutting winds. Once that corn is gone, it is just flat land and it is real windy. Snow drifts are a big thing. What we'll do here is there are some farmers, when they're by the highways, they will leave roughly like 3 to 5 rows of corn to help block snow from like going over the roads. That's what some farmers will do.
Nice.
So We got, enough farm talk. We got Keystone Cowboy new. He says, "What's good, fellas? I'm new here. Hopefully you learned a little bit more about corn and what we do here in Iowa to help with the snow. So probably not what you expected to start, but we'll get there. We'll get there."
Yeah, hope you enjoy the show. If you have any questions, comments, feel free to keep chiming in. We're going to talk some G5 college football. We're going to talk some I guess the 3 bowl games from last week, and then we'll talk about our all G5 teams. We're going to do our all freshman team, our all American Athletic Conference team, and our all Conference USA team this week, and then we'll pick up the rest of them next week. We released all these on Twitter, I don't know, early December, right? We haven't talked about them yet. We just put them out on our social media accounts. I think like the second week in December. But we'll go over them tonight. Go over our players of the year, all that kind of good stuff. But first, you want to start with our players of the week. Before we get there, hey Billy, how you doing, bud? Hope you had a happy New Year's. Glad to see you joining us here once again in 2025.
All right. Well, let's get right into it. Let's get into the football talk. We've got the G5 Hive Players of the Week, 2024 bowl performances from this last week. Offensive wise, my player of the week, running back Lincoln Perry, Texas State. Lincoln had 21 carries for 143 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also had 4 receptions and 32 yards receiving on the day. He accounted for 175 total yards of offense, which was good for 34.4% of the Bobcats' total offense. Lincoln had a huge 73-yard touchdown run late in the fourth quarter to put the Bobcats up 30-21. Texas State needed everything they got from Lincoln, as the Bobcats were able to hold on 30-28 to win the First Responders Bowl. Congratulations to Lincoln on the performance.
My offensive player of the week was quarterback Drew Mestamaker from North Texas. Drew had 393 yards and 2 touchdowns through the air while adding 55 yards rushing and another touchdown on the ground. Drew, a true freshman, was making his first start for the Mean Green. In fact, it was his first start since 9th grade on the high school B team, which I'm assuming is like the JV team. But anyway, quite an impressive performance by Drew. Congratulations to Drew on his starting debut there for North Texas. He had a 70-yard run right after Lincoln's 73-yard run to close that gap. It wasn't quite enough to close the gap, but a very impressive performance by Drew, especially considering he hadn't started a game in football since 9th grade on the JV squad. So yeah, quite an impressive performance. And some people say, well, he had a 70-yard touchdown. How come he only had 55 yards rushing? Well, in college, they count sack yards against the quarterback. NFL does not do that, but the NCAA does do that. So that's why he only ended up with officially 55 yards rushing, even though he had a 70-yard touchdown run. My defensive player of the week, cornerback Jordan Polk from Texas State. Jordan had 9 tackles, 7 solos, 2 tackles for loss, 1 sack, and a forced fumble. His strip sack in the fourth quarter helped stop the Mean Green drive. Jordan's performance was instrumental in leading the Bobcats to their 2nd consecutive victory in the First Responder Bowl. Congrats, Jordan, and the rest of the Bobcats on the bowl victory.
I went with linebacker Red Murdoch, Buffalo. Have yourself a day. Red had 13 total tackles, 9 of which were solos. He had 2.5 tackles for loss, a pass deflection. He forced 2 fumbles. He had a pick 6 that he ran for 31 yards. I mean, what did the guy not do? His 2 forced fumbles broke a 4-way tie for the most forced fumbles in the FBS. Now Red Murdoch sits atop the FBS in forced fumbles with 7. Congratulations, Red, and congratulations to the Bulls for winning 9 games this season. What a way to cap it off.
Yeah, Billy, he absolutely did. Very impressive, very impressive. considering that he hadn't really played. I mean, the story was, I guess his high school coach kind of put in a good word for him, I think, or his trainer or something. Told the North Texas coaching staff, "Hey, you guys need to take a look at this kid," and they did, and he got to North Texas, was the backup, and with Chandler Morris gone off to Virginia, Drew got a chance to start, and he took a lot of a big advantage of that opportunity. I know I believe the North Texas brought in Reese Poffenbarger, I think, in the transfer portal, but I wouldn't be so quick to say that Reese is going to win that job. Drew looked outstanding in the game. And so I fully expect, this could be, last year we saw a kind of a similar performance with Caden Veltkamp, right? He was at that point, Caden Veltkamp was in the transfer portal because the coaching staff told him at Western Kentucky, told him they wanted him to play tight end. They didn't think he was a quarterback. And he threw for 400 and 20 some yards and 4 touchdowns and brought them back from a 28-0 deficit that I got to watch in person. But yeah, and then so he Veltkamp came back to Western Kentucky out of the portal, and he was their starting quarterback for the majority of the season. So, maybe Drew Mestermaker is going to parlay this performance here in the bowl game into a starting role for the Mean Green next year.
Before we get to our next section, we talked about it earlier. That shirt, Donald Giebel, I think maybe is the last name there. So you were right, Donald.
Yeah, he's so shout out to Donald if you're listening. Hope you're wearing the shirt, wearing it proud. Send us some folks some shots of you wearing the shirt and on vacation or wherever around or wherever you're from. That'd be pretty cool to see. Let's get to our news and notes. What the Swarm needs to know. Most of this is going to be head coaching news or not head coaching news. We're not going to talk about the portal. We might mention things, but we're not going to go in depth about the portal. We will do that later in January once school starts. Folks, guys are getting enrolled. I know most schools, I think, start probably the week of the 13th or the week after. And so at that point, you would think most, not all, but a lot of guys will be enrolled at that point because they'll want to be in school for the spring semester so they can participate in spring practice. And so at that point, we will kind of dive more in depth on a team-by-team basis into the transfer portal and also talk about coaching changes, head coaches, defensive coordinators, and offensive coordinators. But speaking of coordinators, we got a lot of new coordinators announced this past week. Arkansas State hires Nate Drailing as its new defensive coordinator. Drailing was initially hired as the defensive coordinator for Utah State this past season, but then, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks before the season started, Utah State let head coach Blake Anderson go. And when they did that, Drailing became the head coach for Utah State this year. The interesting thing is he moves over to the Sun Belt, so he'll also get to go against the guy that hired him as a DC, Blake Anderson, who I believe is the new OC down there at Southern Miss. Georgia State hires Deron Wilson as its next defensive coordinator. Deron Wilson was a secondary coach for Arkansas this past season, and prior to that, he was a defensive coordinator at McNeese State. Jacksonville State hires Vinny Sunseri as its next defensive coordinator. Sunseri was a safeties coach at Washington prior to moving over to Jacksonville State. UNLV hires Zach Arnett as its next defensive coordinator and linebackers coach. Arnett was an analyst at Ole Miss in the 2024 season. Prior to that, he was the head coach at Mississippi State in 2023. He got hired as the head coach with the tragic passing of the Pirate there. And before that, he was the defensive coordinator at Mississippi State, I believe, for 3 seasons. South Alabama has promoted Paul Petrino to be its next offensive coordinator. Petrino was previously the wide receiver coach, so I don't expect too much to change there. Their previous OC was hired to be the OC at Wake Forest. So, the wide receiver production that we've grown to love at South Alabama, I'm sure will continue under Paul Petrino. And then probably the biggest piece of news this week, as far as the G5 is concerned, is Northern Illinois. They have agreed to join the Mountain West Conference as a football-only member, and they'll have to pay a $2 million entrance fee to join the Mountain West. The move is expected to become official tomorrow, Tuesday, when the Northern Illinois University Board of Trustees meet. I believe they've already scheduled a press conference, I think, for 3:30 tomorrow to officially announce this move. This is they're only going to be a football-only member for Mountain West, which is, I guess, financially, I guess that's smart, right? They won't have to send all their teams to the Mountain West, but you got to think in some respects it could be a downgrade for those other sports, right? They're not going to be in the MAC anymore. So what they're currently what the rumor mill says is they're probably going to join the Horizon League for their other sports, or that's the current favorite. But they're also looking at the Missouri Valley Conference as well as the Ohio Valley Conference for options for their other sports.
I think the Missouri Valley Conference makes the most sense. It's like your University of Northern Iowa, your St. Louis's. Like, I think that Indiana State, I think, is in there too. Like, that makes sense.
It'd be interesting to kind of see how that works out. I don't know. Like, I think like for basketball it can work out, but how does it work out for the other sports? There is a pretty good video going around. I believe is a D1 360, I think, that made it. That really went in depth about this decision by Northern Illinois. A lot of good statistics, a lot of good information. There were two main points, with the overarching point being the first, I don't know, probably half the video, half 15, 20 minutes or so. And the point he made was how attendance has really suffered at Northern Illinois as a result of MACtion. We love MACtion. We love those Tuesday and Wednesday games. But if you're watching them on TV, it's not hard to see there aren't a lot of fans there, right? And so
you are correct. Just D1 360.
And so because of that attendance, they felt like there's a loss of revenue, right? And they didn't, and according to what they kind of showed, there really wasn't necessarily an increase in value in terms of being on ESPN. Like it kind of broke down. The MACtion went from a couple games a season to multiple games every single week. But that didn't necessarily increase the number of games that were, quote, on ESPN. It increased the number of games on ESPNU, ESPN3, the streaming service, but not really on ESPN. And so, that was one of the reasons that that D1 360 kind of cited they felt like was a major factor in this decision. Northern Illinois is about an hour's drive from Chicago. So, and a lot of those folks that live in we're in DeKalb, where Northern Illinois is, work in Chicago. Well, those folks aren't making it back in time to go to the game for MACtion because of traffic, etc. And so they felt like attendance, and they showed the numbers. Attendance really dropped as in November as those games are being played on Tuesday and Wednesday night. And then I guess the second point was how Northern Illinois kind of dominates the, quote, TV ratings from a MAC perspective, and that's probably more a reason for why Northern Illinois was attractive to the Mountain West, right? DeKalb County, where Northern Illinois is now, I guess, included in the census with Chicago, because, like I said, so many people commute back and forth. And so I think that market was what really attracted them to the Mountain West over some other options. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. I mean, to Billy's point, yeah, it's not really going to hurt the MAC in terms of numbers. It's actually going to help, I guess, in a certain respect. It'll keep the numbers even. UMass does join the MAC in all sports next season. So as far as football is concerned, they will still have 12 members, whereas they would have had 13 if Northern Illinois had stayed. So yeah, look for UMass to be in the MAC in all sports starting this coming season. I guess it's probably, quote, official July 1st of 2025. That's usually when those things are, quote, official.
And then Justice, being in the Midwest, being not too far from DeKalb, Illinois, I do want to know it's DeKalb. So all of our NIU fans watching, no, we got you. It's DeKalb. We got
it. What did I say, DeKalb?
DeKalb. Yep, DeKalb.
DeKalb.
Big and corn. Well, that does it for us this week. Come back and join us next week as we continue with our all G5 Hive conference teams. We'll cover the MAC, the Mountain West, and the Sun Belt, as well as finish everything off with our G5 Hive All-American team. And always bring you up to date with all the latest news and happenings in the world of G5 college football. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. And if you're watching us on X, please give us a retweet, a like, and a follow. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please subscribe and leave those 5-star ratings. It's great for the algorithms. We want your guys' support. If you guys like what we're doing, help support us. Thank you for all your support. Until the next time, we are the G5 Hive.